Hi guys, it's Aoife from Words of Clover and I'm here to do a book review today. So this week I finished reading Wonderland by Juno Dawson and I really enjoyed it, and I cannot wait to tell you guys all about it and why everyone should be reading it. I received this book from NetGalley in exchange for an honest review. And I also think it's really important to say here as well, this is a book about a trans girl written by an author who identifies as trans as well, but I myself am cisgender, so this is not an Own Voices review. If and when I find other Own Voices reviews on this book, I will try and link them down below. If you yourself have seen really good reviews as well, please leave them in the comments for other people who might be seeking Own Voices reviews on this book too. So this is book 3 in Juno Dawson's London trilogy. The first book was Clean and the second book was Meat Market. But what is really important actually to say about this trilogy is that you do not need to read these books in order. You don't even need to read the other two books if you don't want to. They're just kind of like a very loose trilogy that just kind of are like based in the same world. The characters are just kind of in the same universe. This book is about a girl called Alice. She is a student in this very posh school for girls called St. Agnes, and Alice is she is a little bit of like not so much of an outcast, but she's thought of as like a little bit weird, and she hasn't told any of her friends or anything or anybody in the school that she is trans. The only people that know that she is trans is her immediate family and then the headmistress of the school as well. Really felt safe enough yet to kind of talk about the fact that she is trans with her peers yet. It's something that does weigh down on her a little bit, that fear of what would happen when she does come out as trans and if things will change for her. At the start of this book we know that Alice has kind of had this kind of one night relationship with a girl called Bunny who has since disappeared, and no one seems to be really care that Bunny has disappeared because this is something that she seems to do quite a bit, but Alice just feels like there's something wrong and she wants to go and find Bunny, and through her investigation she ends up finding this kind of calling card that basically ends up being an invitation to this really super secret party called Wonderland. She disguises herself as Bunny so she's able to enter this party and actually look for Bunny at this party, because she just has this real gut feeling that she's going to find Bunny or find some sort of information about Bunny at this party. And when she is at this party there's just a lot of things going on, there's a lot of drugs being taken, and she ends up kind of finding out a little bit more about some of the people that she has known about in her circle or outside of her circle and in her school circle. She finds a little bit more about all these people and a lot of different secrets and some really dark secrets that come out about other people, while at the same time she is kind of confronting some of her own demons and her own insecurities, and in a weird way finding herself as well. So one of the things I do have to say about this book is I'm a really big fan of Juno Dawson. I have loved all of the previous books that I have read, which have been Margot and Me, Clean and Meat Market. I think I gave all of them 5 out of 5 stars. And in this book there is mentions of Lexi, who is the main character in Clean. As I said, there's not like a direct connection to the books, it's just the fact that she is mentioned, like she exists in this world as well, and I just love that. I love those kind of little cameos or Easter eggs from other books. So she is a character in this world, though not actually in this book. And then there's also a mention of Felicity from Margot and Me, which is one of Juno Dawson's other books, and Margot and Me was set in the 90s. So in this book Felicity is actually an adult and is a person in Alice's life, and it was just this really small moment in this book at the start of this book where we saw the reader, we saw Felicity and we saw Alice interact with Felicity, and I just loved that so much. As someone who adored Margot and Me, I just loved seeing Felicity all grown up. It was so lovely. So that was just one of those weird little things. As someone who enjoys Juno Dawson's writing and has enjoyed her other books, as a fan of her writing, I just love that part of this book. So I just wanted to point it out for anyone else who might enjoy that too. I really liked Alice's relationship with her family in this book. It's not perfect, but they all accept her for who she is. And the things I really liked about this as well is that Alice has a stepfather and she has a really good relationship with her stepfather, and I feel like that's something that we don't see a lot of in books with step parents. Like there is that kind of negative connotation of the evil stepmother or the evil stepfather, where with this one Alice was close to her stepfather and he was someone really important in her life, and he was the father figure in her life. He was her dad, and I just really liked that that was there and it was shown that she had this good relationship. And I think it's really important to show those kind of relationships, those that aren't just immediate mom and immediate father or like, you know, like blood related parents, that there are all sorts of other guardians and parents and mentors in children's life that don't necessarily have to be blood related, but are also really important to them. There's obviously a lot of drug use in this book, and Juno Dawson never is afraid to go that little bit extra with her characters and with what her characters are doing. She has her characters like having casual sex, safe casual sex I should say. She has them doing drugs, doing like drinking alcohol, taking part in these like really like crazy things. One of the things I love about Juno Dawson's writing, and particularly this trilogy in particular, and this book in particular, is that she writes teenagers really, really well. They're like, I think we've all read those books where an author has tried to write teenagers and it's just failed spectacular. You can tell that Juno knows teenagers. She knows what teenagers are thinking. She knows the worries teenagers are feeling, particularly girls like Alice who are dealing with a whole horde of other issues as well as the issues that come with just being a normal teenage girl. Writing a book for older teenagers without being condescending towards them, she is trusting them that they are able to read this type of content, and I think that's really important as well, because when I was a teenager as well, I really enjoyed that kind of content, and I found it was hard to actually get in some places. I really like that Juno is always pushing that boat out, and she trusts her readers to be able to handle and to be able to interpret what she is giving to them. Obviously, Alice in this, she is a trans girl, and she is dealing with she's going through her transition. She hasn't fully transitioned, if that's what you want to call it. She hasn't had an operation to change her physical body, but she is taking hormones. She's on hormone replacement treatment. She was on hormone blockers when she was a young teenager, and there's a lot of really fantastic discussion that I haven't seen in other books about this, about kind of Alice's own feelings towards the operation, about why she thinks she should get the operation, which some of it is about how people will see her, and if people won't see her as a real girl because of the genitalia that she might have, and then how that kind of changes throughout the book, and she comes to kind of accept herself and her physical body in a way that's so much healthier by the end of the book versus the start of the book, and it was just so lovely to read. There's also passages in this book about just different things that Alice has to deal with every day, like things like tucking, and when she's at this party, which spans a weekend, she has to think about those things. She has to think about tucking, and then throughout the day just rearranging her tuck and making sure that everything is like all okay down there, and I have never seen that in a book before, and I just really enjoyed the fact that it was there. And myself as a cisgender reader, this is something that I can't relate to, but I can see that it's so important, and just even for myself, like educational purposes, like it really made me think about what people who are trans and like the different things that they have to think about every day, and it's just so important. And then there's one chapter in this book where Alice is going to the toilet, and the chapter is literally just a page of all these stupid questions that you see people ask about this whole weird argument about trans people in bathrooms, and it's basically all those type of questions you would see on Twitter, like literally poured at Alice, and it was just such a good chapter, and it was so powerful to see like she literally like just wanted to take a piss, and she has to like, she's bombarded with all these questions, and she's like, can I pee? Like that's literally, and it was just like, I just feel like it really needed to be there, like it needed to be there, and if I could get certain people in this world to even read that chapter, or read this book in particular, but read this chapter, yeah, that would be good. Also some like really relevant things in this book as well, such as cancel culture and what people, like the reactions people can have when they find out they're going to be cancelled, that they are in danger of being cancelled, how quickly someone can be cancelled as well. Juno is able to really take what's happening in the world at the moment that she's writing her books and place them in her books in a way that's just so brilliant. I found that with Meat Market as well, where she had a lot of a storyline around the Me Too movement, and it was just done really, really well. And I found in terms of Alice's transness and her journey towards being trans, and this thing about TERFs and cancel culture and bathroom issues, and the fact that it was put into this book, it was just brilliant. And I just really liked how that was brought forward as a discussion, and how we see Alice deal with it, and as readers how we can think about it after that. I should obviously say this is obviously kind of connected to Alice in Wonderland, like all the connections are there. They're very much like in your face, can't miss the different connections that are there with Alice. Alice in Wonderland, like obviously the main character is called Alice, she's chasing someone called Bunny, she goes to a party called Wonderland, and then it's fun to kind of connect all the different characters with the characters in Alice in Wonderland, and like even though they were really obvious, I still felt really clever every time I would match someone with a character in the book. It was just like a really fun aspect of the story. Alice had so much growth from this book to the end of this book, and I just loved seeing particularly the last couple of pages with Alice and the difference in her and the difference in the type of girl she is, in her confidence, in her security in herself, in her drive to kind of push herself out of her box a little bit and make herself known and make herself seen and really be this amazing person that she is. Like, she's an incredibly clever girl, and the way she talks and the way she interprets things throughout the book is really great. Just seeing that journey from the start to the end was just so wonderful to see, and I just loved it so much. There's obviously a lot of triggers for this book as well. I should probably have said that at the start, but there are triggers for mental health. Alice deals with some sort of, I think it's bipolar issues, where she does have hallucinations and suicidal ideations and intrusive thoughts. And then we do have a few mentions of a suicide that Alice witnessed, and then herself a suicide attempt that she almost went through herself. Also an attempted date rape in this book that does get stopped, but it is there. So I really enjoyed this book. I gave it a really strong 4 stars, and I just cannot recommend it enough. I love Juno Dawson's writing. She's one of my favourite authors. I think she is criminally underrated. I just feel like she's a really underrated author, and more people need to read her, because I have loved all of her books that I've read, and I cannot recommend them enough. And I cannot recommend Wonderland enough, because it was amazing. If you've read this book, please let me know what you guys thought below. If you want to read this book, I would love to know, and I'll see you guys again next time. Bye.